Colin Robertson.
Welcome back to the Opposition Podcast number 33. How you doing, Rukshan?
I'm doing good, man. I'm good. It's good to be back. We did have a little bit of a hiatus while you were out there in Davos chasing down Larry Fink from BlackRock. So
we haven't done an episode since that.
I don't think we've done an episode since you were at the WEF getting your instructions from Klaus Schwab. So it'll be interesting to see what you try to promote.
I was not getting my instructions. I was giving my instructions. Did you?
I don't know. I saw you with Andrew Forrest. Did you ever end up having a beer with him?
Listen,
has he bought you out?
Kiss and tell? No way, bro. But I got to say to you, did you see? I think my favorite moment in the entire Davos of 2025. What is it? Take a guess.
Is it Benji having a stack?
How funny was that?
Oh man, I felt so bad for him, but he kept going. He's a bit of a warrior, the cameraman that you have. So,
and I go after the fact, I was like, Benji, it was when snow, you can see when it's got a different color, it's slippery. You can see the slippery snow. Sometimes it's not that obvious. That was just like it was so clear. And he goes, "Yeah, I saw it. I thought I'm probably going to slip, but I just really want to get the shot." And how he went flying.
He's committed to his craft. He's committed to his craft. But it's good to be back. And I think today is going to be an interesting episode for many different reasons. And we've got a few interesting things to chat about, as well as a very interesting guest that pertains to our scandal involving our former premier. In many ways, a tragic scandal as well, when you look at the circumstances of everything that's happened since and at the time. So looking forward to that, actually.
Yep. So, guys, I guess the house rules, in case you've forgotten how this actually works, we'll start off on all the platforms. Today, we'll do it on all the platforms. There's nothing too dodgy about what we're going to discuss, so we should be safe on whatever platform you're watching now. But at the end, we're going to move over for the last 5-10 minutes. Depends on you guys. For those of you that sign up, you can actually look what I've done. Do you like that? The opposition.show. So just to make it easier for you guys, at the end, the last few minutes, we're going to head over there. And this is for members only, Rebel Plus members only. So you have time to sign up for it as well. If you sign up, you're helping Rebel keep the lights on. You're helping fund the operation, but you also get access to this show, the mini report. And when I say access, you get, exclusive access to the mini report that now is mostly behind the paywall, but you also get to join in the conversation at the end. It's more casual, the last 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on you guys. We chill with you actually in studio, and you can ask Rukshan whatever you want. Well, you can ask me whatever you want. I'll probably deflect. But Rukshan, he's just got this knack of answering, and we're going to get into that later because he's been answering those Nazis, and I just don't get it. But we'll ask him about that. So again, the opposition.show, that's where the end of this show will be. But for now, let's introduce our guest, or let's let him. Sir, how are you doing, Mr. Colin? I've forgotten your last name. That's how
Colin Robertson.
Colin Robertson, they call me. Yeah.
That's it.
Colin, who are you? What are you doing? And why are you on our show today?
All right. Well, I've been I've become incredibly involved in an accident, a car accident featuring the ex-Premier Daniel Andrews in 2013. And I'm not sure how much you guys know about the accident or what's behind it or the court cases they're running. So what would you like to hear about?
Well, we'd like to start from the beginning because people obviously don't know.
Top.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell it as a story. I mean, it's I guess what I know is it becomes highly technical, but I won't go into I won't sort of dive into the details too much, but to sort of just tell you a broad narrative, if you like. So January 7, 2013, the Andrews family are returning either from the beach or from the sailing club, which I think the locals down at the peninsula call the Sorrento Sailing Club. They're returning with the family, either Daniel Andrews or his wife, Catherine Kessick. That's actually her name, by the way. It's something we found. Her legal name is Catherine Kessick. Not, I think she goes by the Andrews name. They're returning from the beach.
She didn't want his name.
Well, I'll leave you to speculate as to why that might be. They're on Melbourne Road heading south. They've turned right into Ridley Street, and an almighty collision has taken place between the Andrews car and a 15-year-old cyclist called Ryan Millman, who was attempting to cross the road. He was riding from his father's house to his mother's house, and it's 1 o'clock effectively. It's 1 o'clock on the 7th. So as a result of the accident, and I'll go into into who hit who and sort of what we know a little bit further on. But as a result of the accident, Ryan suffered cracked ribs, two cracked ribs, fractured ribs, a sort of decompressed lung, and a ruptured spleen, which is an incredibly serious injury. Required him to be airlifted to Royal Children's Hospital, where the doctors removed 90% of his spleen. I don't know if you know much about the spleen, but it regulates your white blood cells and other things. It has a lot to do with your immune system. So without a spleen, your immune system is compromised, and often you'll need to be on a low course of antibiotics for the rest of your life. So, but what was interesting, and I guess that's what's fascinating to me, is if you've heard anything about the accident, we were never supposed to know about it. And I guess knowing as much about what happened as I do now, as I was researching it, it suddenly dawned on me, we were never supposed to know that this accident happened. That was the whole point. That's why effectively no evidence was gathered, and the press were never told. So if you look at the lack of evidence in light of the fact that we were never supposed to know about this, it becomes really interesting. And the other part, the others, and if you're sort of interested in it, like how did it hit the press? I'm not sure if you know the story about the insurance clerk who rang Peter Muleman, Ryan's father. So on the day of the crash, the parents are aware that Ryan has been taken to Royal Children's Hospital and airlifted. And right from the get-go, Peter Muleman, as any sort of concerned father might, has asked the police, well, what was the driver's name? And they refused to tell him. And he asked again, they refused to tell him. I could imagine being the father of a 15-year-old child who's basically fighting for his life in hospital, and the police won't tell you anything. They won't tell you the make or model of the car. They won't tell you who was driving. They won't tell you any of the circumstances around it. And we know now they were on, when the police arrived, they were on site for 25 minutes. They took no measurements. Like when you, as part of the crime scene investigation, one of the things they do, they photograph the car. Like where did the car come to a stop? They get out the measuring tape. They measure, where did Ryan land? Where did the car stop? They take photos of the scene. They take photos of the car. They breath test the driver. They breath test the passenger. They sometimes they breath test the kids. They get witness statements. They actually separate the driver and the passenger, and they'd interview them separately. They'd get names and addresses of any witnesses, or and when I say witness, it could be someone who heard the accident, or it could be somebody who saw the accident. It could be somebody who was there, a minute or so after the accident. So put it this way: the police gathered no evidence. They gathered no evidence, and they interviewed no witnesses, which is astounding, because we can't stop meeting people who've seen or heard something, and we can't stop sort of gathering evidence. Which let's just say Ryan's version, that the car has sort of come barreling around the corner and collected him as he's attempted to cross Ridley Street. They said there was an enormous amount of evidence to suggest that Ryan has been telling the truth the entire time. Andrews version.
What has Ryan been saying?
Ryan, actually, from the get-go, Ryan has maintained that he's riding from his father's house to his mother's house. He's doing, I'll put a speed on it, maybe 10 kilometres an hour. He's on a gravel road approaching Ridley Street. He slowed. He sort of looked left, looked right. There was no car on the road. He's looked left, right again. He's gone onto the road, and a car has come around the corner at speed and just collected him. It smashed him. It was a head-on. It hit him from the side on his left-hand side. He's bashed in the front of the car. Landed on the bonnet, onto the windscreen, smashed the windscreen, gone up in the air, and landed on the road behind the car. And the car's continued, some 20 meters down the road.
I guess, does he say he ever saw the driver?
That's a fascinating question. No.
That's I guess the question a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Is who was actually driving the car. Dan Andrews has always maintained, Dan Andrews and his wife have always maintained it was them. Somebody's asked in the comments if he was ever breath tested, or was she breath tested. I understand that neither of them were breath tested. Is that right?
That's right. And the breath testing was really interesting too, because we've got a witness who said immediately after the accident, Daniel Andrews has taken the kids out of the back of the car and he's walked them away. He's walked them back. The holiday house they were renting was only 250 meters away from the crash site. So the first thing Andrews did was he got the three kids out of the back and he's walked them away, leaving Kath at the scene with another witness who turned up. And she's been in the press, Jane Crittenden, who was the first person on the scene. Jane said that neither Daniel or Catherine Andrews, or Catherine Kessick, as her name is, were attending to Ryan or helping in any way. So she got down on the road and
they weren't helping him.
And she maintains they weren't helping at all. They were standing and they're arguing, but they were certainly not attending to Ryan in any way, shape, or form. We have another witness who said that he saw, soon after that, Daniel Andrews got the kids out of the back of the car and walked them back to the holiday house. So when the police have arrived,
well, we can let's listen to the 000 call, and then go after once police have arrived.
What address, please?
On the corner of Ridley Street, Ridley.
Yes.
And Melbourne Road, Blair Gowrie.
Near the bike path?
That's correct, yes.
And what's the problem there? Tell me exactly what happened.
We've turned right into Ridley Street and a kid's come flying through on the bike path.
Yep.
And we've hit him.
All right, are you with him now?
We are with him now.
How old is he?
He's a teenager. He'd be 15.
15? Was someone else on the phone to the ambulance, maybe?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
My wife might be, but...
no worries. We've just had a job pop in for 10 Ridley Street, Blair Gowrie.
That's already weird. Where is he? Because you're in an accident. Your wife was driving. You're there. And why? How do you not know if she's on the phone to the ambulance?
Doesn't he claim that he couldn't get reception where the car was and he had to walk away? But then, I'm thinking how did his wife get reception?
Well, there's two callers that day. The first caller, I won't use her name on the air, but it is in the press. The first caller is a resident about 120 meters up the road who heard the call. It was so loud that she heard the crash from 140 meters away. So the first call to 000 is at.
So it wasn't his wife. She never called.
She never called. No.
Okay. All right.
The first call to 000 is a resident who was 140 meters away, and she's called at 10. It's about 1:08. So the accident's at about 1 o'clock. The first call is about 1:08.
Why did you wait so long to call?
Well, that's the $1 million question. So she's the first caller. So Mr. Andrews isn't even the first caller; he's the second caller. So all the and he maintains that he made the call from Melbourne Road at Ridley Street. So with various, this is in the mainstream press. It's easy to find. His witness statement's been published. He's also made several other statements where he said, immediately after the accident, I've called 000. Well, on my reckoning, 9 minutes after the accident is probably not immediately. He also says that he called 000 from the corner of Melbourne Road and Ridley Street, so on Melbourne Road itself. We're working with some retired police officers who've got an incredibly well-informed network, And one of the cops went down the other day at around the same time on the same sort of day, busy sort of summer traffic. He counted 353 cars in 10 minutes. So that's a car going past at 80 kilometres an hour every 2 seconds or thereabouts. So if Andrews has made his call on Melbourne Road, you would hear traffic, you would hear trucks and cars zooming by us. We've had audio engineers examine the tape. There's no background noise. He certainly doesn't appear to be on Melbourne Road. He is more likely in the opposite direction. As I say, we have a witness who saw him walking the kids away.
For a similar thing, for a bike versus car, so I'd
Well, that's the one.
say, so you're with him at the moment, obviously.
I'm just about 10 metres away trying to get a mobile
Change
phone
that.
signal.
And is he conscious?
He's conscious, but he's in a lot of pain.
Right. And is he breathing?
He's breathing, yes.
Does he appear to be completely awake?
I can't answer. I think he's a little bit groggy.
And is there any obvious injuries?
Not that I can see.
Is there any serious bleeding?
I don't believe so.
No worries. Is he complaining of pain anywhere?
He's in a lot of pain.
Where is he complaining of pain?
I'm not sure.
Oh, you're not sure. No worries.
Yeah.
That's all done for you.
No worries. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
No problem. I'll
Bye.
let you go.
Very bizarre to say the least. It's, if you're calling
And I'd
in-
like to go back to the actual, what you were saying, Colin, about the police that turned up on the day, that they hadn't done any of the basic things that you'd think would happen in an accident. I'm seeing a lot of people commenting on that in the comments as well. And you would think, knowing that it's Daniel Andrews, who was the opposition leader at the time, the police would want to leave no stone unturned to make sure that scene was, correctly checked out. All the types of photographs, all the measurements were taken, whatever you were saying before, that all of that was done correctly. You'd think that would be of the utmost importance to the police, and of course also Daniel Andrews, who himself and his family believe was a accident, and they blame the bike person on the bike. So the reason that didn't happen is very suspicious, just from the onset of all of this, regardless of anything. I think that makes this whole thing very suspicious.
Well, one of the first things the police do in a scene like this is they scan the number plate. So this the car is a very dark blue SUV, Ford Territory SUV. It's owned by Treasury, and there's a little triangular sticker. Actually, if it's of the previous shot of the smashed windscreen, you see the little triangular sticker. It's a parliamentary car park. So the police would have been.
looks like the Illuminati.
The police would have. Yeah. Well, the police would have immediately known it's a VIP and it's a senior government employee, even if they didn't know Andrews himself. And of course, once they'd looked at licenses, they would have known exactly who he was. So back to your point, it's important in a situation like this, not just that an investigation is done, but that an investigation is seen to have been done. And if I go back to my early point, I'm of the opinion that the reason no evidence was taken and things were deliberately sort of missed is we were never supposed to find out about this accident. And there's a fascinating part of the story. There's two sort of huge mistakes they made, and it's the little things that give you away. One of them, as I said, the police refused to give Peter Muirman the details of the driver. So, not Daniel Andrews or Catherine Kessick or anything. They wouldn't give them the make or model of the car or the driver's name. On the Thursday, an insurance clerk has called Peter Muirman at home, and he's according to Peter, who's the father of Ryan, the clerk wanted his insurance details because they wanted to collect money from Peter for damaging the car. Which, as you can imagine, is a father whose kid's fighting for his life. He's still in ICU.
I'm surprised
I'm
surprised he didn't call him to enforce a lockdown.
So Peter's done a Google, and his kids are pretty surprised. He said because Peter, by his own admittance, is not a great technical guy, but he certainly had enough wherewithal. They've revealed the name as Catherine Kessick, and so he's Googled Catherine Kessick, and he's realised that is in fact Daniel Andrews's wife. So and things. So once he had a name, he was then able to sort of effectively he alerted the press and that's how it sort of it hit the press on the it was Wednesday the 16th. The Herald Sun had a front page on the Wednesday, but for that call from the insurance clerk, we would never have known.
Well, it's been hitting the press
And of course,
lately again.
in my opinion, it's
That's because of what we're about to talk about. Let's just quickly hear the dad's
And
press.
it was absolutely chilling to hear the incident over again and picture my son lying there in the middle of the road bleeding out. So from a father's perspective, really disturbing. It probably paints a clearer picture of what happened and what happened directly after the incident. In that audio, Andrews states that we hit him, yet in his police report he's always stated that my son T-boned that car, which is clearly not the case now.
Now that this audio is out, what is your message
Dan
to
lying, I
Andrews?
can't believe it.
I think just do the right thing and be honest.
Do you think they will be honest?
I don't think he's got either the conscience nor the courage to do that, because I think that if he did have that, he would have been truthful and honest about it at the time. So the version of events that we believe happened was my son coming down that bike path, coming to an almost stop. Andrew
Can you hear the traffic noise?
coming around the corner
Yeah, compared to
at
the...
speed, as indicated by the TAC report, and also as indicated by the witness that heard the squeal of tyres prior to contact with my son. So as my son came out, the car comes around the corner at speed, hits my son goes over into the windscreen, over the back of the car, onto the road, where he's still conscious, left semi-conscious, but bleeding profusely. The Andrews version of events, as they stated in their statement, was that they came to a complete stop out on Melbourne Road. They proceeded slowly down this part of the hill, and that my son came out of the bike path at speed and hit them side on, T-boning their car. He wasn't actually on the scene at the time that he made that 000 call. We have a witness that saw him walk away from the scene of the accident. He didn't make that call for 6.5 minutes after the point of contact. He's unable to describe my son's injuries and said, oh no, I think he's okay. Yet the neighbour who also rang 000 was able to say there's blood coming through his t-shirt, he's bleeding. The witness states that he was walking away from the scene. Catherine Andrews was viewed sitting in the passenger seat of the car.
After the accident.
The witness in the car behind, Jane Crittenden,
would you
I
move to
believe
the
she was the first responder attending to Ryan, and then the witness from the neighbouring property was bringing blankets out and comforting the son.
How's Ryan doing now?
Still struggling, but incredibly he's strengthened because of the amount of support that he's seen around him. I'm really glad the 000 call is out there. This was a public incident, happened on public roads, and I think all of Australia deserves to be able to hear that 000 call and make their own assessment on what happened. There's been so much speculation. Moving forwards from here, we really just want justice for my son. We're really just looking for a system that will bring vindication to my son's version of events, so as we can move forward as a family and rebuild his life. He's got a lot of mental injuries from that incident. The physical injuries of the spleen, the ribs, the lungs. The physical injuries heal, the mental injuries leave a legacy. Look, I think if everything had been transparent at the time and all the protocols had been followed at the time, we wouldn't be here now. We would have had resolution way back then. But it has been a lot of smoke and mirrors to cover this up. And so here we are 10 years down the track, still speculating, still gathering evidence and facts to vindicate my son. At this point, A decade down the line, it'd be the most insincere apology I've ever had.
I mean, that's
yeah,
the thing,
Peter's-
right? So Ryan's
Peter's awesome.
his whole life's been turned upside down, and he's the victim of all of this. And I think when you look at this very closely, this case, you can see that he's been let down by many institutions in many different ways, whether it be the legal system, the police, the government, the media in some ways as well. And when you see kind of the fight that someone has to have in terms of just a very simple accident in many ways to get that out there, just because of who these people are, it shows you that
Yes.
imbalance that we generally have, that we kind of don't want to believe that exists. But in this instance, it's very clear that there is some type of imbalance and some type of injustice that's going on here in Ryan's case. And so, Colin, can you tell us about? I know there's two kind of law or legal suits, or there's a defamation thing that you guys are looking at, but there's also a case against Slater and Gordon. Can you kind of just tell us the difference between the two?
You've been involved in this case for many years now, so people can see this is you. How many years ago already? This is 23. So it's a couple of years
That's
ago.
20. It's 22, I think.
22. 3 years ago. So you've been involved in pushing this. Finally, you're getting somewhere. Just before you go, let us know where you're up to, what we have to look forward to, and where people can follow the case.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time for the Melmans and really for justice. The original case and the case that'll be heard in the Supreme Court in May of this year, so it's just around the corner. That's Ryan v. Slater and Gordon for professional negligence. And having looked at the evidence, if they did any investigation at all as to who caused the crash, I haven't seen it. They have simply accepted the Daniel Andrews and Catherine Kessick version of the accident and the police version, which, if you dive into any of the evidence, it's totally contradictory. Ryan's version, I mean, to this day, Ryan has never been interviewed by the police or given a formal statement. So that's the first case. What I was still sort of shaking my head because I can't believe the statement that Daniel and Catherine Andrews made. It was directly after the O calls were published, and the big event that had happened before that was the late Dr. Shuey. His report was published. Now, Dr. Shuey was a guy, actually I worked very, very closely with the man, an incredible guy, fantastic policeman, a real inspiration, but an internationally acknowledged crash reconstruction expert. I worked very closely with him. His report's actually available online, but in a 36-page report, he has concluded that, let's just say, Ryan's version holds up. That's Ryan's version, that the car has come around the corner doing what they call a sweep turn, somewhere between 40 and 50 kilometres an hour. So it's cut the corner and it's just collected Ryan as he's crossed the road. It's as simple as that. The car's hit Ryan from the side. He's gone onto the bonnet, windscreen up into the air, and the car hasn't even put the brakes on yet. So now that we know where the car actually finished, or it ended up, the crash reconstruction experts can determine how fast it was going at impact. So we now know where Ryan, we know where Ryan landed. We've got 4 witnesses, including the police, who've acknowledged that he landed in spot X. We've got 2 witnesses who can tell us where the car ended up. Neither of them are the police. We've got Ryan's injuries. We've got the photos of the damaged car. We also have, and we have the scene itself. I think, as Peter alludes to, it's a public road, and it's more or less exactly as it was in 2013. So it's easy to go down and map it and do diagrams and work out various scenarios. If it had been on private property, it would be harder. But so Ray Shuey's report was published in September 2024. Soon after that, the O calls were leaked. And this is where Daniel and Catherine Andrews made a joint statement to the effect that they weren't going to dignify a response to Dr. Shuey and his appalling conspiracy theories. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, but that's effectively what they certainly used the word appalling conspiracy theories, I guess.
They say that
meaning
about
to a certain extent.
anything anyone questioned Dan Andrews about in his many years in politics was a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's right. So meaning, of course, that Ryan and his theory, which he's steadfastly stood by his version that the car hit him rather than the other way around. And the other thing they've said is that Ryan and his family are simply seeking money through the courts. That's the only reason they're engaged in the Slater and Gordon process or case, is they're seeking money through the courts. So to me, I'm not a legal expert, but it would have seemed to be a very ill-advised statement. And on the back of that, Ryan, through his lawyers, has sent concerns notices to two concerns notices, one to Daniel Andrews and one to Catherine Kessick. It was on the 24th of January. They've got 28 days to respond. That's 28 calendar days, not business days. So
this is a defamation case. This is a defamation case for his comments in response to that report. Is that right?
It's right. That's the link. The comments they made that day are the link.
It's basically that this is all one big grift. They're using the accident to try raise money through the courts as some
to get,
sort of
the inference is that it's a grubby sort of it's a grubby grab for more cash. They got to pay out. They got to pay out through the TAC back in 2015, and now they're trying to leverage.
And it has nothing to do with justice. The question is, how would Dan Andrews even know what happened? He wasn't even there, as per his own evidence, mate. We wish you the best of luck. I can see people in the comments already saying that they're gone to your website and they're trying to help out. For those that do want to follow it before you go, I can see it on the screen. Is at bikeboy.com.au. People can follow the case and help out and get involved, or just out of intrigue to ensure. I know there are many Victorians that would just like to see Dan Andrews justice held up against Dan Andrews for something, because he seemed to have gotten away. That's why we used to call him Teflon Dan. He got away with literally, allegedly, many things.
Allegedly. Well, look, it's probably an appeal to the people of Victoria, in that there's now two genuine court cases all live: the Slater and Gordon case, and then the defamation case, which will be, look, who knows? Daniel Andrews and Catherine Kessick, they may apologise and the whole thing goes away. I suspect they won't. In which case, defamation is extremely expensive.
Well, it's more likely.
So it isn't a.
So
we don't want to.
Yeah.
I'd
say we're more likely going to have peace in the Middle East before Dan Andrews apologises for anything. So, on that note, what were you about to say before I cut you off about 3 times?
Oh, sorry. It's for the people of Victoria, there is a real chance to get justice for Ryan, and as an extent to an extent of that is justice for Victorians. And we don't want to run out of funds. It's an expensive business, defamation, as is the case in May. So we have set up a GoFundMe page. The easiest way to find that is just via Ryan Meulman. And Meulman is difficult to spell, Meuleman. Is a GoFundMe page, and people have been incredibly generous up to this point. I think we've raised about $250,000 to this point, and that's most of that's gone in legal fees just to get to this point. So it's an appeal to Victorians to help Ryan and his family and help the people behind the scenes. There's a group of us. There's some ex-cops. We're getting leaks from Spring Street from some Labor people who are telling us things they probably shouldn't be, because they want this to come to light. There's an incredible support crew behind the Meulmans and doing some amazing work, and we've got a great chance to get some justice. But we are going to need some funds.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for spending some time with us here tonight. We've gone a little bit over that we thought, so I apologise for that. But we appreciate it, and best of luck. We'll certainly be cheering you guys on from the side. I did meet him a bunch of years ago, so I know that this has been going for so long, and hopefully justice will be served soon. Thanks, mate. Have a good night.
All right, thanks guys. Appreciate having me on the show, Tom.
Thank you. That was very eye-opening and interesting, and it's one of these stories. Like whenever I talk about this particular story on social media, a lot of people get worked up. A lot of Victorians, like you said, who feel like Andrews just got away with everything. They feel like,
and none of us were there. I think the reason why people are so angry about this, because they feel like, even without being there, because we witnessed him get away with so much,
we've seen it happen.
Yeah, we've seen it happen. So this was just like somebody's personal experience in Andrew's personal life, in which it seems
he did
like
the same things.
he
Potentially,
just,
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly did the same thing. Like I did see the crash reports a few years ago, and the ones that he was talking about, and I may have even spoken to the guy that passed away that did it, but yeah, they were convinced that even just the placement of the seat, for example, wasn't in the right position for her to be driving, as in she's a lot smaller than him. And there's so much about this case that was dodgy from the beginning, and the police did not help themselves by not actually following police protocol. And it makes you ask why didn't they follow protocol? Why then was Daniel Andrews not even at the scene when he's making the call? Why? And with none of those answers, we have two conflicting stories. And when you have two conflicting stories, and one we know is telling some things that are not true, for example, in his statements, he says the kid hit them, and then finally in the when the call to the ambulance was leaked, the 000 call was leaked. You see that it's actually at the time he said we've hit him. So I would dare say that I'm not going to trust the guy that's got caught lying, besides for his whole entire political career, but even in this
pretty
situation.
much that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would. I mean, let's just say it goes to defamation. He doesn't apologize. It goes to a defamation suit. I do, imagine that one of the first things that he will say when asked the question is, "I don't recall, Your Honor."
So, people were saying that in the comments.
At least for that in the comments, we get a taste of what's going to come in that defamation case. There's going to be a lot of denial and not recalling anything.
We have about let's say 15 minutes before we're going to go into the private chat. I know you keep texting me about how beautiful my shirt is, so look what I did.
Uncensorable? Uncensorable.
No, but look what I did on the screen.
Oh, you got it all fancy with your
yeah, I've learned how to do this. I've learned how to do it. So, guys, anyone that wants some merch, some of the Rebel merch, there's new stuff all there. rebelstore.com.au. You can look as good as I do. Stand for something. It's actually a pretty cool t-shirt. I can't believe I've never worn it before. I've had it, and I'm going to start wearing them. And you can look as good as me, stand for something, and support Rebel News while you're doing it. When are you going to start making merch?
I don't know.
I bought you a URL for your merch.
What is it?
Are you sure you're me?
No, don't tell me later.
Made in Sri Lanka.com.au.
Well, a lot of the nice merch is actually made in Sri Lanka. A lot of the designer clothes are all made in Sri Lanka. So there you go.
All right, mate. Let's we've got literally. Let's just jump straight into the Gaza thing. That's what everyone's talking about. Let's listen to Trump's thing first, and then we'll just unpack it quickly.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. The U.S. will take over the Gaza.
Yeah, it's caused quite a stir.
What was your reaction when you saw that? I think even Bibi, no matter how you feel about him, when you looked at him from the other angle, his eyebrow lifted like, what are you saying?
Yeah, maybe it caught him off guard as well. Look, I mean, I just, I know Trump from watching him over a long period of time and the way he talks about things. And it was kind of obvious to me that he's making these massive, in a way, a threat. Like, we're going to do this. And, I'm not ashamed to do it. I'm going to take the place and we're going to do all of these things, and
I'm going to make it better than it ever was.
I'm going to make it better. Yeah, it's his usual boisterous kind of, the way that he talks about things, and he says kind of the most outlandish things first for any particular issue. He'll say the things that you would not expect any politician to say, and I don't think anyone in the world was ready for Trump to get up there and say, "We're going to take Gaza and pretty much rebuild it in the fashion that we see." Yeah. And even if it means taking our military there, we're willing to do that. You don't know, we might have to do that. So it's just typical Trump. But I don't think the reaction to it about it's ethnic cleansing, he's going to get rid of the Palestinians. It's all over the top, because I don't think the way that he said it is actually to infer any of that whatsoever, and it was more so a negotiating tactic.
I agree with you 100% on that, and I think the meltdown has been so predictable but hilarious. And I'm not just talking about the left. Yes, the left went nuts because they go nuts when he says anything. He says good morning, they lose their mind over that. But even people on the right, after everything we've seen in the last 2 weeks, there's that the growing group, or I don't know if they're growing. I don't know. They're very loud online, but they hate Israel that much, and they're hoping that Trump will go somehow anti-Israel when he's been the most consistent on Israel than anyone. He's been saying it the whole campaign. If you hate Israel, I don't know why you ever supported Trump, because Trump has always been the strongest supporter of Israel the whole time. You remember, he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He recognized the Golan Heights as Israeli sovereignty. Everything about Trump in words and actions has always been pro-Israel. So anyone that's surprised by the fact that he's actually literally doing what he promised he would do, and that's across the board with everything, with all these executive orders on everything, he's been trying and been actually succeeding in doing what he promised he would do. And this is just one of those. But to the people on the right that are so angry about it, dude, wake up a second. Like, I get it. You hate Israel. Fine. and I love your tears. They make me happy. But Trump has literally threatened a bunch of stuff. Like Colombia, Canada, Colombia, Mexico are the perfect example. He threw some crazy tariff and showed that he was going to do it. And it's true. The idea with Trump is he throws a massive threat, promises to do it. And you know what? If you don't actually work with him on negotiations in the back, I wouldn't put it past him not to implement it. Like, he may do it if you push him, but it's not really his intent. His intent is to go, guys, I'm not mucking around anymore. Let's do something different. What's the literal definition of insanity? It is doing the same thing over that hasn't worked, repeating itself. So he's saying, I'm not going to be insane. So we're going to do something different. And if you don't come to the table, well, this is the radical ending. And don't push me to do that. But there's no way he's doing it.
I think it's aspirational by Trump, in the sense that he thinks that this is what should happen in the area, like the rebuilding and Gaza being this place. He kind of envisions a place similar to Dubai, perhaps. He's kind of putting out those same ideas about what Gaza should be rebuilt as. But I think he's going the extra mile and saying, if no one else in that region is willing to do it, then yes, you will have the US there, the US presence. We will do it there. And if we're spending our money doing that, well, as the American first president, we're going to get a benefit from it. That's clearly what he's saying to the region. He would much prefer people in that region, the rich oil Arab states, to actually put up the money, help with the process, and help fund rebuilding the place. And they've already walked back Trump's comments. His administration's already walked back some of the comments and said that there's not going to be US troops on the ground. Even the commitment of US money is not rock solid for these kind of things at the moment. So he is just using the platform with Benjamin Netanyahu next to him, the Israeli Prime Minister, to tell the world that if people in that region don't play ball according to the way that I see the world going, then I am willing to do these things. And like you said, he might do it if it really came to it.
If you push him to it, and also if you call his bluff and you say you're not going to do it, that might push him. And that's why he's so effective at it.
It's been
That's
effective.
why this
It's worked.
negotiating tactic has been so successful. Colombia, how quickly did they capitulate? Mexico, 10,000 soldiers on the border. How quickly did they capitulate? And these are all people that talked so tough. Canada tried to rally the entire country. In fact, Justin Trudeau was in a way effective in rallying the country, that he even managed to get Pierre Poilievre, who's the opposition, who I'm most like, I've been loving and been excited for him to be, but even he kind of bought into this, like, oh, Canada first. We need to make sure we, Donald Trump is it, and it's like, bro, how do you not see what he's doing? Take this opportunity to tell Justin Trudeau, do what go and do the things, protect our border, not just for America's sake, but for our sake. And I saw Pierre Poilievre did that, but after the fact, he was a bit late to the game, which was a bit disappointing. Hopefully it's all good. Hopefully Pierre Poilievre actually, when he wins, doesn't end up falling back into those positions of being a weak leader. And he does.
My last point on this, Avi, this whole thing is, there's lots of weird commentary about this issue online where people are like, oh, the Palestinians can rebuild it and all these kind of things, and they can do it themselves. And it's just not how it happens. You can't send billions, if not trillions, of national treasure from different parts of the world into the hands of Hamas terrorists to rebuild the country. That's just not going to happen that way. It's not realistic. You can't have people living amongst the rubble in that country. So a lot of things that Trump is saying is correct, and that place needs to be rebuilt if there's going to be any future for the people there, and it needs to be done in a proper way. So why wouldn't you accept this global help to have amazingly built a city that's a peaceful place? Why wouldn't you accept that? Why would you want to go back to the old way? So I'm fully behind Trump's foreign policy on this, and I hope that other people in that area as well, instead of just jumping up and down and screaming about, displacement and ethnic cleansing and all these kind of things, really get behind this effort to actually, fix that place. Because at the end of the day, if this doesn't happen now, we're going to go in the same cycle again, and there really needs to be a hard reset. And I think Trump is the president in that whole region, Abraham Accords, all these type of different concepts that he really promotes that can possibly get the region to work together and fix that place and maybe sort out that issue once and for all.
The one unintended, I think, thing that Trump also proved through all this is suddenly they're all not refugees, because everybody's like, how can you displace the Palestinians from their home in Gaza? It's like, so if it's their home in Gaza, what are you talking about? Why are they refugees? Why do they have refugee status? Why do you need UNRWA? Why do you need any of that? This is their home. And I agree. I think it is their home. Let them have. I'm somebody that thinks that the Palestinians should have Gaza and just not under Hamas, and they should build it into a good, functional society instead of a terror hotbed. But we've got about 4 or 5 minutes before we're going to move over to the opposition.show, which what is that? That's going to be this. Yeah, I got it. There we go. I was so fancy. That's going to be the site that we're going to be on in a few minutes. And if you join us there, you're going to be able to join in on the conversation. But before we go there, I just want to quickly touch on the other controversy of this week. And Sam Newman, I had a full conversation with him yesterday about it. But essentially what happened with Sam this week is he had, let's see, I think I've got his YouTube up. Oh, no, where's his YouTube? Let's go to his YouTube. You can watch my full interview. I spoke to him for about 45 minutes on it. Oh, no, 35 minutes, sorry. And he's quite funny, but so he had a couple of, where is it? Where's his channel? Here we go. He's got a podcast, and don't tell me, 2 days ago, 1 day ago. Oh, yeah, it's this one here. Yeah. I'm not going to play because I don't know if on some of the platforms we're allowed to have those people on there. But essentially, he invited a couple of self-proclaimed neo-Nazis. So I'm not just calling Nazis for the whatever reason they call themselves Nazis. They're actually a group that you like to fight with online. Why do you engage with them?
Well, they engage with me, actually. This is the thing. whenever I put up a post about anything to do with myself or to do with Australia, whatever it is, they've been engaging with me. They've been coming onto my comments to remind me that, one day in their future visions of this, white Australia policy that they want to reenact in this country, that I will be deported. So they come engage with me, and I engage with them as well, because I feel like their ideas can be challenged and exposed by just replying to them, because I want people to see the things that they're saying. And that's been one of the interesting things about X, where these voices are, not in the shadows anymore. They're out there very openly proclaiming their racially based superiority. And, and they're kind of creeping into arguments that are moderate in a way. Like even the immigration debate, like you and me, Avi, we would say we support stopping immigration, for instance, we support deporting illegal immigrants and so on. Like, so you have these kind of, moderate, very normal debates that you have within the political space. And what these groups are doing is interjecting themselves, and they have every right to do that. But they're trying to play this game of, hey, we're just saying things that everyone else is saying, which is, according to them, 40% of Australians should be deported from the country, not because they're illegal immigrants, but because they're not white. Yeah. So when you listen to the actual arguments, which I think Sam Newen did a good job of letting them just speak.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
Arguments. Yeah. So it sounds ridiculous. So when they say these things to me, I'm like, all right, cool. So, tell me about this plan. How are you going to do it? And they just, blurt it all out. And I think it's great that people get to see that these are the individuals that you are pitching yourself to, because some people in the moderate positions in the conservative and the right-wing movement are saying, hey, look, these guys are saying things that we want to say, and these are like our saviors, because they're just saying all these things about immigrants, and they don't understand that when you take these extremes into the political space, and you're talking about a very crafty side on the left when it comes to this, it's all going to be eaten up in a way that actually diminishes the power of any type of arguments against immigration. So in that sense, I find they're dangerous. So I like to challenge them for that basis, because I feel like they're poisoning the well, as it were, when it comes to very serious issues with their extremism, which really has no place in Australia. They don't represent the majority of white Australians like they claim to. Most people, when they hear their ideas, would reject them outright.
Look, I think people hear certain ideas and they go, "Oh yeah, I agree with that," or "I agree with that."
Well,
like immigration, some of the immigration stuff today, but then when you get into what their broader plan actually is, it's insane, and it's never going to happen.
Exactly. And they're not saying anything. They're not saying any. What they're saying about immigration, where people are like, "Oh, wow," they're at least they're saying it. There's nothing. It's not a great revelation. It's stuff that people have been saying for years.
Yeah,
we've been saying to stop immigration and to deport illegals and do this and do that and protect white identities and protect white culture. All types of conservatives on the right wing have been saying that for decades and decades. Yeah. What they're doing is, because there's kind of no filter on places like X now, they're interjecting, hey, it's these immigrants' fault. They're this, they're that. Their IQ is this, they're this and that. They're all criminals. Even if they're Australian, they're not Australian because they're not European Anglo stock. So we should get rid of them.
I would encourage people. Basically, we're gonna move over now in about a minute to the opposition.show. So guys, again, like I said, if you sign up there, you're supporting Rebel News. You're helping us essentially continue running. Plus, you get access to my show. You'll be able to join us in the continuation here and join us in the conversation and get access to all the Rebel News stuff, including my upcoming documentary first. The opposition.show, the more members we have, the more likely we are ever to survive. So I appreciate everyone that joins us. But, I saw the outrage about Sam having them on the show before he published the episode. And, they came for him. And then I watched the episode. And to me, if you watch the entire episode, not little clips out of context that the Nazis obviously cut. They did take little bits and make it look like they were just schooling Sam. But overall, yeah, you can argue that he didn't push back as much. But I did a proper interview. You can check out my interview with him yesterday, where he talks about why he doesn't push back on every point. He goes, because I think if some dickhead is sitting there, that's his word, not mine. He goes, I want to see how much of a dickhead they want to prove themselves. They're sitting there talking about like the Holocaust didn't happen. Like, Go, keep talking. Let's listen to. And the truth is, when you watch his entire interview with him, he is mocking him. He's certainly at no point supporting him. I put a bunch of questions to him. He was great. I even forced him to wear a kipper. I saw the comments.
I saw that.
saying,
Yes,
Hey,
it's a funny picture. Whenever I see that picture, I laugh.
Oh, and then everyone,
pull the picture up.
And then,
but I think they did a dirty on him. I get what he's saying, because they kind of, he gave them the platform in the sense of
like he was letting him have a chance to make their arguments.
Yes, of course. And then they kind of abused that relationship by portraying him as one of them. And, they cut up all these creative clips and all this kind of stuff that they do. And, they're loving life because, Sam Newman is now one of them, apparently, just for interviewing them. And I think this is why a lot of people actually avoid even discussing things with them, because they try to bring you into the fold just for having a conversation.
They're using him to, and I did talk to him in
it's all about recruitment.
It's all about recruiting.
They're quite desperate. I'm reading some of the comments here as well, that people are talking about, that no one voted for immigration and all these kind of things. And look, you can have these valid debates and discussions, but at the end of the day, people vote for politicians. This has been happening for decades. There's been a number of opportunities for people to voice their concerns, and I know people have in many different ways. But there's a photo. Look at him. He looks like one of those characters from.
I saw somebody said that he got the call. I'm like, because I'm the one that gave him the call. What are you talking about, bro?
That's it. He's full Mossad now, right?
He is Mossad. He's under my control, ladies and gentlemen.
He's under
You
control.
saw Rukshan used to be cool. Rukshan was good until he got the call from me. Same as Sam. Once you get the call, you get the call. Guys, before we go, before we move over to the other one, if you want to look good, stand for something, while supporting your favorite media network, rebelstore.com.au. Check out all the merch there. Help us out there by getting something. And do you have anything to plug, Rukshan? I'll add something for you on your plugs here. Or is it just you just want people to follow you on Twitter?
Find me on Twitter. Come engage with me. Watch the white supremacists in Australia talk about how they're going to deport me and share their plans. It's quite fascinating. Just come follow me on X at The Real Rukshan. You can also follow me at my Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey at The Real Rukshan, on my website, www.realrukshan.com.
So I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Those of you that want to join us privately for a few minutes, the opposition.show, the URL on the bottom of the screen there. You need to be a Rebel News Plus subscriber, which gives you access to everything across the website, including my Tuesday night show and all the other shows on Rebel. Plus, you get to ensure you're helping us out. I'm going to cancel the other live streams, and we're going to continue just there. So, Rukshan, you could talk to the people, because I can't do two things at once.
You can't do two things at once. So what were we talking about? We're talking about immigration issues. So look, I think it's going to be a major talking point this year. Even if the politicians aren't talking about it, online I see a lot of people discussing immigration. And I think a lot of people feel like immigration is the root cause of many of the different problems that we face in Australia, whether it's, the cost of living, the inability of people to get into the housing market, the rental market. A lot of issues are being put at the feet of immigration. And I think that's fair enough. There's definitely issues around